why do you think we have a long way for the U.S. to drop rates? That's number one. Number two, because they can move very quickly when they can move aggressively down. And then I guess maybe because you only think it's 12 months to make the correction. I'm answering the question maybe there. But the other question is, what do you think about negative interest rates and the impact?
Yeah, that's a good question because even though I'm suggesting a reasonably simple premise of 14 years up, 4 down, the cycle, it can never repeat exactly. And clearly there are things happening today that didn't happen in 1810 and 1910 and 1950. We've got, so for example, the cycle just gone, we introduced exchange rates, and then exchange rates went floating. That sort of thing had never been, that hadn't been done before in any of the prior cycles. If we had the introduction now of, as you suggested, the possibility of interest rates going negative, and indeed some places have, that of course is a first as well. That's not been happening before. So the cycle can never repeat exactly. If it did, everybody would see it and we'd all make our actions to develop strategies and things. So that's the first point on that. Real estate cycle going forward can never repeat exactly. There has to be stuff happen. There has to be things happen that's going to make people confused and everything else.
Yep.
The reason I mention that is because what I discovered when writing my book, and this might be a little bit hard for people to believe, and it was a bit hard for myself, but what I noticed when I was when I did all the history, and you've read the book, there's a lot of history there that demonstrates the repeats. I found that events happen in the United States that will ensure and that will definitely make the real estate cycle repeat. Now I can't always know what that will be to make the repeat happen, and we're going to get different events take place that will be a little bit different all the time. All I know is events will take place to ensure the repeat of the cycle, and so far, in my opinion, it will happen at the right time. Yes. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. As we went from 2010, 11, 12, and 13. We got to 2013 and the United States stock market, the Dow Jones and other indices broke into all-time new highs. Yet when it did, it was very subdued, and there was still an enormous amount of people in the United States that just simply thought the recession would go on forever and that there'd always be another problem around the corner. We got to 2015 and then 2016, and we had market hiccups there, and all the bears came out and said this was another repeat of the Great Depression, and that we'd all have to hunker down and buy a gun and bury your cash in the backyard. And then Mr. Trump came along, a real estate guy at the top of the White House, and he spent several years trying to convince everybody that that things were on the up. That he added to it, of course, that he was creating all this stuff. We got into 2019, and I think with a few people it started to resonate. And did you notice that a good deal of greed started coming back? So that was the catalyst that put people, that simply people started forgetting about what happened in 2008 and started looking forward. And so by the time we got to 2019, just about everybody in the United States was looking forward. And of course, as I also show in my book, when you get 7 years up of the real estate market and a very big bull market, the history shows that years ended in 9. If you go back a long way, years ended in 9 usually come in as a type of peak in the stock market. All we needed was for somebody to stand up towards the end of 2019, early 2020, and give a big rah-rah and say that the business had conquered the real estate cycle, which I think Ray Dalio's offsider came out and said. And we had Mr. Trump himself come up and say it was the greatest economy on the earth that had ever been created.